Guys, remember, if you see any of the infesties, you spray them, okay? See any momos in the chat? Any of them appear, you spray them. Why is my chat so tall, by the way? This was, like, shorter the other day. Move that up. I didn't change it, so... Oh, well. Anyway, welcome on in. Welcome on in. I got an email, earlier. I wanted to read a little part of it that I thought you'd like. This is a little excerpt from an email. It says, I know that you are against problems in games like kernel-level anti-cheat and in shitification in general, comma. So I was curious if that sentence is in an email to me. I think this person watched at least 2 clips of me, which is nice. That's good. That's always good. Sometimes I get emails about, like, sponsorships and things, and they'll be like, hello, username, but it's, like, not my username. There's one time I had already said yes to a sponsor, and they were sending me, like, some of the info I needed to get the sponsorship done. They were like, hey, username, comma, like, here's this thing you need, and the username was not me. It was just Daff. They were like, hey, Daff39, here's that media press kit you need so you can have logos and stuff. And I was like, yup, that's me. All right, then. All right. It wasn't the publisher themselves. It was, oftentimes there's a company in between the game publisher and the people being sponsored. Like, there's a marketing company that they hand budget to and go find a streamers, you know? So it was like that in between that did it. Shit was funny. Hello, Daff. I was like, okay. All right. Whatever you say. It was the people from Stop Killing Games that emailed me this. They were like, hey, we know you're against kernel level anti-cheat and shitification, so and then they just sent me some link, and they're just like, here's some videos about what it's about and stuff. And it does seem like a personalized email, genuinely, as I, like, read through it. Seems good. I know there was some, like, controversy, not against them necessarily. I think it was against Thor or something, right? There was some, I don't know. I, like, did not go through and look into that much, because I'll be honest, anytime something seems dramatic, I just hard avoid it. And the only time I really look at it or comment on it is when it actually has to do with me in some way. But if it doesn't have to do with me, I just don't comment typically. And even if I do comment, I try to keep it very, like, very chill, very neutral. Let's talk about this thing a little bit, but not, like, go crazy on either side. Even if I am heavily on one side, I'll still, like, be like, let's just keep the discussion neutral, because I just don't want to invite and bait people that want drama content, you know? So for this one, I haven't fully looked into it yet, because I didn't start hearing heavily about it until some stuff became dramatic, and then I was like, ooh, I'll wait until that gets quieter. There was a drama between them and Thor about how Thor doesn't get what the initiative was all about. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, I'll enjoy some of his content. There are also times where I think he speaks really quickly before he has full information, which I get. I've done it a couple times here and there. But I'm very open to people telling me otherwise. If they're like, oh, actually, it's this, I will stop what I'm saying. If people in chat are like, oh, it's this, and I'll be like, let's look at this, and I'll Google. Which I think is a habit people should get into. Like, you know what I mean? It's one thing if you actually do have just an opinion that is not the common take. Like, if you double down because you genuinely feel that way, then you genuinely feel that way, right? That's understandable, but at the same time, like, you gotta make sure you sit there and look into something, right? My opinion has changed on some things, right? Where I've, like, said what I think with the partial information that I have. And I'll usually say that too. I'll be like, well, I've seen this, this, and that, and this is what I think so far. Right? Um, but then, you know, if I see people in chat saying otherwise in like a large amount, I'll always, like, after stream, go look at that thing. Right? Like, I'll always try to, like, do more research and then come back and give more thoughts after. Or if my thoughts have changed, or if I do still think a certain way but I want to like add more thoughts to it and clarify, I'll always try to do that, you know. And I feel like when you are a streamer that's seen as an informative person, whether you want that or not, whether that's the vibe you were going for or not, if that's how people see you, you should spend that time, you know. It's tough. And I understand it, because I am also a person that sounds confident in everything I say, even if I don't feel that way. Even if I say words like, yeah, I'm not sure, I've read this and I think. It doesn't matter, because the way I speak, the timbre of my voice, the cadence of my voice makes people think that I think I'm right all the time, right? I think he's got the same curse. At the same time, yeah, he should look shit up more. You know, spend a little more time reading. It's hard to do that when you stream for like 12 fucking hours. But you got to pick and choose where you put your time, you know? Right? You hate the word influencer, but it's true. Yeah, and I try to say to you guys pretty often, like, by the way, feel free to disagree with me, because I feel like the way I speak gives people the impression that they can't. That the impression is given that if they say something that I don't like, that they'll get fucking blasted every time. But, like, realistically, when people do give differing opinions, we examine it. We're like, oh, this is something else to explore in this conversation, right? The only time I'll blast someone is if they're being really, like, shitty about it. It's not what you say, it's, like, how you say it, right? I think a lot of his issues, he's really cocky. Yeah, he said a lot of things. For me, it's smaller things. It's smaller things. He said a lot of things that I agree with and a lot of things I disagree with. It's a mixed bag. And I get it, because I have some opinions that will always be things that I like. I just don't really say very often, because I know I have really standard corpo background, and the way I see the world through that lens is different from a lot of people, I feel. There will always be things. Yeah, sorry, they do street cleaning. If you hear that. Because we don't really they have to get stuff out of the drains because it's all concrete. Apologies that they do this like multiple times a week, because otherwise, like, there's nowhere for shit to go, so they always have to clean it up physically. Unlike you people that live out in nature where nature can take care of it. We just have fucking concrete. My bad. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to like him in particular, there's a lot of stuff that he'll say where I'm like, I get where you're coming from. I'll still disagree. I get like the kernel first thought he's stating, because sometimes it's like, I don't know if he's actually that corpo in the past. I feel like he's more just like a gaming dude. He says he's done development. I don't know how much he really understands about like high level corpo, so I wouldn't really say he's the expert on that. I don't really know. But occasionally he'll say a business thing and I'm like, oh, I know where that comes from. Like, I get that. But it's kind of like, sometimes you shouldn't double down on it, because it's just a perspective that people won't fully understand unless they've also been in that position. But if you have a different perspective, you just have to talk about all perspectives, right? Especially if your perspective is a really specific one, then you have to sit there and listen, you know, and have conversations with all these people that are in your chat that have very different perspectives. You know, you have to really like try to say things in multiple different ways in a way that they would understand, and you have to listen to them and understand where they're coming from, which is they have not seen the things you've seen, and you haven't seen the things that they've seen sometimes, you know? But that's why I'll come off when I'm talking about certain things. Sometimes I'll come off as like too neutral. People will be like, "Oh, that was a softball. Like, you should have been harder on this thing, that thing." But it's more like I just like to sit around and explore every avenue and talk about every perspective around a thing. A little more like reporting on a thing than just giving purely my opinion. right? Like, I'm speaking from a place of here are a lot of different perspectives that we could talk about, not like this is my opinion purely. I don't always do that, you know? Which I think more people with wider audiences should consider doing that, especially if you're seen as an informative person. That's why I like to step back a little bit and try to talk about the different perspectives, because I'm not trying to influence super hard in a direction, even if I think I'm right, you know, unless it's something so fucking blatant and it's like completely black and white. But most things aren't, you know. So that's why I like to speak the way I do on stream. I don't know. So when I see someone with a large audience really, really doubling down on certain things, I'm like, maybe just talk about the different perspectives, give a little opinion on it. But you don't have to say what you think is right or wrong necessarily. You could just talk about them. I do that when I'm talking about Twitch all the time. I'm like, I think this is this, I think this is that. I'll give opinions, but I'll also just talk about everyone's thoughts that I've heard, you know? Because everyone has different thoughts. I don't know. Problem is the digging of heels. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It does feel more like debate club than actually talking about the issues sometimes. Yeah. So to be honest, he didn't really understand the thing at all and then kind of misrepresented what it was. Yeah, and I think it would be really easy, like, if that were the case, to then make a follow-up video and be like, hey, you could make the title of your video like, I thought this thing was this, I was wrong. Oh, boy, was I wrong. And you can give like a lighthearted feeling too. You don't have to like feel like you're getting shit on to say you're wrong. You could be like, oh man, you know, I really looked into it, and hey, there's a real problem, and then you just talk about the problem, right? I think he could have made a banger video out of that. Admitting you're wrong on the internet, showing weakness, they'll eat you alive for it. That is also true, and I will also say that, yes, if you are wrong about something, or you're like partial right, partial wrong, if you do not double down or go silent, if you do say I've changed my mind, whatever, there are a lot of people on the internet that will go, I changed their mind. Or, ooh, we got them, boys. And they celebrate you changing your mind as if they won something, as if it made you weaker, as if it put you underneath them. They get crazy about it. And then they will harass you to no end. And yeah, they smell blood in the water, and those people just get worse and worse and worse. And they attach to you as a hater even more. So I will say, admitting fault and changing your opinion publicly is very difficult for that reason as well, for larger streamers. It's often that it's like it will cause you long-term harm, which is why some people will just go silent. That's why I think just being quieter is, you know, sometimes the option for people. I think on paper it's not the right option, but in practice it is, which sucks, because no one wants to have to do that. No one wants to have to like change their opinion but not be able to tell everyone, oh yeah, I changed my mind, here's why. But like, unfortunately, that fuels haters. Like doing the right thing can fuel those people sometimes. So it's tough. It's really, you're put in a really hard position. I don't think doubling down is the right answer though either though. I think that's when you just go like, yeah, you know, my opinion's shifted a little bit, but I'm still exploring. And then you just don't talk about it. You just go to the next thing, right? Maybe over time you drop little tidbits of information of how you feel, but you don't make a big media push out of it, etc. You know what I mean? Like, that's it's not a black and white issue. And I see a lot of chatters give their opinion. He should have done this, he should have done that. I'm like, oh, literally everything. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anything you do can be an issue. Basically, the only way to avoid having people be like that toward you and having all these issues on the internet as an influencer, the only way to avoid it is to be right all the time. Or, not just to be right, actually, scratch that. It's to side with the side that people perceive as right all the time. So if there's an issue that the majority of people are objectively wrong on, the only way to avoid hate, to avoid, as an influencer, getting like a shitstorm and stirring up drama, the only way to avoid it is to double down on whatever people commonly think. Yeah, publicly traded company method. Exactly. And it really sucks that things are like that. It does. You said a lot of what he said was correct, but the problem was he immediately jumped to, we need to shut this down, denied any conversation could help fix the issues. Yeah, right. I think like if it were instead done from a lens of how can we be really constructive about this, that could have been better. Said, you do agree with him as far as not engaging about it because of the people deliberately being jackholes to him? Yeah, it's at a point where like he can't do anything now. It's too far in the hole. Very difficult position to be in. Obviously, he partially put himself there. You know, part of it is just the public, but a big part of it is just him. But, you know, now that he's already there, like, you know, shit's too far gone. Just play video games, man. Right? You blame Reddit for this and most other things. I agree. I don't know. I feel like he has a relatively good community. Like, he has something really nice built. He has a lot of people that will listen to him. A lot of the time he does say things that are correct. Sometimes he says things that are incorrect, absolutely. And those get... You know, when you're someone who stands up on a pedestal and says, I'm very smart, I did this, I did that. Right? Here's my ethos, right? Here are the reasons why you should believe me. Like, here's a little bit of my resume so you know I'm not talking out of my ass purely. When you do that and you're seen as like that guy, then the moment you do say something wrong, people treat it like you're the Antichrist. This is something that I think any of you who did well in school understand this. If you did really well historically and then you did poorly on one test, you got treated like a failure for that one test, whereas someone next to you could be failing every test and then they do a little okay on one and everyone's like, wow, you're doing so great. Like, the way you get treated is different. I think anyone who did a little better in school has experienced that. This is just like the internet influencer version of it, for sure. I think it's absolutely fine to disagree with people. I think if someone's wrong, absolutely fine to point it out, etc. But there's definitely, like, I think there's a lot of real malice in the way people treat someone who is typically right or a little smarter or whatever. Or it gives that brand, whether they are or not. I'll say it that way. If they have that brand, the moment they do something that someone thinks is wrong, they're like, this person's actually a fucking idiot, you know? And I see him get a lot of that. For sure. Most people want someone to villainize and blame. I've also noticed that smart people get villainized and blamed, whether they are smart or that's their brand. If you are seen as smart, people villainize you for it always. Like you get called a know-it-all, you get called a suck-up, you get called a whatever, and you're just like, I like information, that's all. I just wanted to talk about this thing that I was interested in. And again, I think anyone who did okay in school, who did like all right, you, even if you were average, you would get treated by the kids that were like performing below average like that. Right? Also, I can be on the screen now. Sorry. But I feel like that's something that humans do in general that's really terrible, because we should be rewarding people trying to be smart, trying to do that. I think it's okay to point out when someone's like, oh, I'm super smart, and then you do one thing that isn't, and they're like, what about this though? But I don't know. I feel like people historically have always been like looking for fault in people that they see as known as smarter as them, right? It gets a little crazy. It's nothing with him. Yeah, I'm not talking about just him. I'm just talking in general. Like any streamer that has this. I know people are like this with NL, and NL doesn't even claim to be like super smart. He just claims to be more like, he's like worldly because he watched a lot of movies and remembers who the actors were, right? He remembers like bits of information about history because he's read a lot. He's not trying to claim he's a genius. He literally does not say anything to try and tell you that he thinks he's smart, right? Yeah, he's ironic about it, etc. Even so, if he says one thing that's incorrect, I see people go crazy. And he's one of the most beloved. He's one of the most beloved because he doesn't have like any real big perceived ego very much. But I see people go insane if he says some fact that's incorrect. But the difference between him and some other people is when someone is like, this is incorrect, he goes, oh yeah, whatever. It makes a joke. he makes it ironic, and he'll admit fault and whatever, right? But but he'll go ahead and just like make it funny, right? He's not like, oh, actually it's right because, you know. He will sometimes if it's one of those things where the person who's saying you're wrong is like, it's about something stupid, right? But yeah, it's the way he takes it, the way he accepts it, that and the way he keeps it lighthearted, that really makes it what it is, right? So, you know, you can see a lot of different examples. And again, like here, one of the big things that always happens is we just pause and I go look shit up. If I say a thing and I'm like, I thought it was this chemical, and someone's like, no, it's that chemical, and then people are giving differing chemicals, no, it's actually this chemical in chat, I'll be like, hold on, and I'll just Google it. Right? Like, I always pause and I'm like, wait a minute, guys, let's get to the bottom of it. And if I'm wrong, I just go, oh, actually it's this. Okay. Right? That's all you have to do, man. That's all people have to do. It's not like hard. Right? But I find that even if you do that, people will be like, ah ha ha, wrong, stupid idiot. Right? I don't know, they like to pick on it so much. So not just smartness, society's villainizing education in general right now. Yeah, it's a whole shift. It's a whole thing. And I think you guys you all know what I'm talking about. Like, we've all seen it. Right? For sure. For sure. People tend to be partly jealous, partly threatened by people that are perceived to be smarter than them, so they attack that threat when given the opportunity. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. I feel like I've seen that, like, growing up, especially in school. I saw that so much. Like, and media didn't help, right? The nerd is always like shown getting picked on. And I'm like, how about we just stop showing the nerd getting picked on? We're like normalizing this. Why don't we show no one picking on anyone? Like like for stupid shit, you know? Like, why would we do this? But like every bit of media would be like, the kid with the thick glasses thinks he's smart and he's a know-it-all. And like they would be like, don't pick on him for it, he's just annoying. Like, they would do this shit. And I'd be like, I hate the way this is written. Yeah, fucking Big Bang Theory. Nerd was always othered. Right, right. Yeah, it was always crazy. I feel like it was just always like portrayed in a way that I thought didn't help anybody. Right? I don't know. Thank you. Thank you for the $25. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dealing with conflict the right way seems to be a key ability as a streamer. Yeah, I think, like, for me, if I say something that people don't like or they disagree with, I just add more words, right? I just add more words. I'm like, here's what I specifically mean. Or if someone's like, I disagree because I think this, I'll be like, let's talk about it. Right? And I'll just keep talking. I'm like, do you have more thoughts to add? Okay, let's talk about that. I'll, you know, and we'll just keep going so that I can talk through different parts of it. Because the thing is, like, there's nuance. And when you're a person on the internet, you can't have a nuanced discussion without talking a lot, unfortunately, you know? So that's what I do. I'm just like, yeah, people keep asking questions, I'll just keep answering, and blah, 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 blah. Right? And I do love talking. And hey, if I'm a streamer and what I do is sit here and talk, then yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna talk. I'll put off playing a game for a little bit to talk more about something people want to talk about. Why not? I just go off a chat. But, you know, I talk about what you guys want to talk about, not just whatever I feel like soapboxing about. You know what I mean? Whatever you guys bring up. Tia said, I would get made fun of in school for reading, like the nerd otherization brain rot is so real. Oh, dude, I had, okay, so growing up, all of my shirts, well, actually, all of my clothing, really. All of my clothing was handed down from brothers. So I had a lot of, like, shirts that just had a thing from a game on it, or, you know, whatever. Like all this shit that was, like, nerdy, because that's what they liked. And I would deal with so much of, like, getting othered, like you said, because I had a shirt on that had a thing that was actually not that niche at all. And I started to, like, I didn't tell my family members or anything. I just, like, didn't wear those shirts to school anymore at some point. I was just like, I can't do this. I would literally, I would not wear a graphic tee ever or anything with anything on it. It would just be like blank shirt, one color. Because I was like, I'm just inviting this and it's annoying. Zelda graphic tee. I did not have a Zelda graphic tee, but like, that's an example, right? Oh, gee, I like that. I like that. The command. I don't know, man. Probably become less bad now that nerd stuff has been normalized. No. No. It's just shifted to different things, I feel. I mean, look at what happens when VTubers exist on the internet. You go watch someone stream. If you've ever seen someone with a completely normie audience, like an audience that does not watch VTubers, if you ever see someone with that type of audience collab with a VTuber, like see the VTuber, even just seeing a clip of them on their stream and then watch their chat, you'll see that things have not changed. They've not changed. Even anime in general still gets a lot of that. It's a little more normalized, but you know, there's still a good amount of it. Or like watching Dragon Ball is cool, but then watching an anime that they haven't heard the name of, you get othered for that shit, right? It's crazy. Crazy. You don't like discussing something with a streamer because you can't type fast enough to keep up with a speaking person. That's fair. That's completely fair. That's the hard thing too, is like we're talking to our chats and we're going off of what the chat is saying. So if people in chat, we're talking about a topic and they're like, I agree with this, I disagree with that, and we explore the topic a bit and then we move on to another topic later. Sometimes we just never get to some other person's thought about it. But they'll comment on a clip and be like, what about this thing? You didn't talk about it. That means you're stupid and I hate it. Right? Like, and I'm like, the way the conversation goes, at least here, is just dictated by like whatever we're by and large talking about, whatever the chat's bringing up, you know? It's crazy, man. It's crazy. There's people who think having a degree makes them beyond reproach. Fun times when I have to reteach them. Yeah, I know. We don't even have to get into it. I'm sure we've all kind of experienced that. And like, for me, I think one of the most difficult things is everyone has differing opinions. Even people working in the same exact role in different companies have had different experiences. I've had people be in here and be like, I'm a lead engineer for this type of project. And then someone else will be like, me too, I do exactly that, but they work for different companies. And one guy will be like, I love my TPM. I think they're so useful. They're great. They're very valuable. And then that same guy at the other company with the same role will be like, I don't like TPMs. I think they're useless because they had a bad one. You know what I mean? The other guy had a good one. Like, perspective is perspective, right? So we can talk about all this shit all we want, be like, I'm right, I'm wrong, but rightness and wrongness oftentimes ends up just being a perspective thing. Right? Which is why it's just not worth being ultra mean to anyone about opinions ever, really. There are a few things where, like, it makes sense. Very few. You know? And that's why, again, like, when we talk about stuff, I'm just like, let's talk about every opinion. Someone wants to be devil's advocate. Okay, let's talk about that. You know? Like, let's talk about all these things. I'll talk about the differing opinion. If I do have a differing opinion from the majority, I'll talk about it. And then I'll talk about what the common opinion is, too. Right? We just talk about everything because it's just not worth like trying to claim what's correct when some things are going to be right for certain people and not right for other people, right? That's just how it is, man. People treat you weird for having gone to university even though you dropped out. Oh, for even having gone. Oh, because of the education level thing? Yeah. Yeah. I get that. The picture of the two guys yelling 6 or 9 to the number on the floor. It's always subjective or even a matter of perspective and experience. Yeah. That's why, like, the way I feel about a lot of, like, Twitch-related things, for example, is going to be a little different because I've worked in a type of corporate environment. I worked in many, but, like, one especially, that gave me a lot of experience in dealing with users, right? And in just understanding large scale, in understanding a lot of the issues that Twitch is going to have. And that's why when people get really mad at them for a thing, sometimes there's certain things where I'm like, I know where this comes from, or, oh, I know why this problem isn't solvable the way you're saying, blah, 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 right? Doesn't mean I'm like, oh, they're saints and everything they're doing is right. It's more so me saying, A, it ain't black and white, I'm sorry. Right? But I know, like, most people will not be able to understand these kinds of things until they get put in an environment where they work with that. So it's like, it's almost not worth giving that opinion. I still will give it, but like, knowing in the back of my mind there are going to be people that are going to be like about it because it's not a common shared experience for most people. You know what I mean? It's tough. I don't know. Perspective makes things hard. It makes things hard. You've had some misunderstandings because text messages don't convey your tone or intention. Yeah, it's always, you're always going to be a disadvantage as a chatter when talking to a streamer about a nuanced issue because you're typing a thing. There are times I like completely misread people's tone and I think they're typing a serious thing, but there's some sort of like joke, double entendre, whatever, that like doesn't come off when you don't say it, right? It doesn't really come off in text. And then someone will be like, no, I meant this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm like, well, that experience was lame. You know, it would have been funnier if I got it, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of that. It's just hard. It's just hard. Your chat is full of dry humor having asses. Oh, I know. Chat reflects the streamer, realistically. Always. Just use Kappa. Kappa helps. Kappa genuinely helps a lot. If you type something that's like kind of dry, just throw a Kappa on the end and it helps so much. For real. I don't know. There's so many jokes I go to type in my friends' chats and I just backspace because I read it back to myself. I wait a second, close my eyes, open my eyes, read it, and I go, that is not coming off the way it is if I said it. You know? So there's so many times I will just straight up backspace and type nothing because I'm like, I can't make this one work. Yeah, control-A, delete it constantly. Yeah. Gotta convey tone somehow with text. Yeah, and like tone indicators are a newer thing. I was not raised on the internet with tone indicators. That was not a thing that we had. So for me, that's kind of, I don't know. I don't love them. They also don't fully encompass it. I think emotes are better if you can. Because they all have their own little bits of flavor, right? Emotes are the ultimate tone indicators. 100%. 100%. The best tweets are the ones never being sent. Always. I can't stand Twitter. I can't stand it. People, no one can read anymore. No one can read anymore. Not just on Twitter in general. No one can read anymore. No one can... They think being able to read words is reading, but the comprehension, the cognition is like at an all-time low. It's insane, man. I've been seeing it so much the past couple years. Oof. It's bad. Human model decay. Straight up. The comprehension is really bad, and I've realized, like... I realize it is a lot of creators that are drama-free and thriving, like doing well in general. What they do is the way they speak and the way they type, they're appealing to like the lowest common denominator, right? They're like, what's like the pocket of my audience with the lowest reading comprehension ability? I'm going to type things in a way for them specifically, because otherwise shit gets misinterpreted. And that's literally what I see people doing that, and I'm like, oh my god. they're adjusting their behavior because they know that people can't read. I don't know, man. Down to earth is a nice way of saying it. I don't think does down to earth mean that necessarily. I feel like down to earth has different, it's more about like your, morality or how you say things. I mean literally like the way they word it for comprehension, right? They do it with speaking too, and it's become a genuine talent to be able to like take your complex thought and be able to really water it down to that. It's a little scary. Layman's terms. Yeah, I mean it the way I said it though. You guys are trying to make it sound nicer, but I don't think there is a nicer way of doing it because they are actively doing it that way. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like they're actively thinking about it that way, which is interesting. Very interesting, right? I don't know. I think you said it the nicest way to say it. Yeah, I feel like I did. I feel like I did. That's why people prefer voice message. Even with voice messages, I think the thing that's interesting to me is even with people listening to a streamer speak, right? Even then I feel like people's comprehension, like not just reading comprehension, but situational comprehension, language comprehension has been going down. Like I used to say it was just reading comprehension. And like, oh, if you say it, people understand a lot better. They do, but I think even that has gotten worse. And it's not just vocabulary. Vocabulary is a part of it, but people's ability to hear someone speak and read into what they're saying properly has gone down, right? Yeah, listening comprehension, which is really like, that's the part that's spooky for me. That's the part that's real spooky. I don't know. then we get into all these like existential thoughts, you know, like yeah, critical thinking, all of that. And you know, we know a good part of it is just straight up internet brain rot doing this to people, right? But it's a lot of things, man. And it makes it scary when like your job is talking to people and people ask your opinions on things all the time and you're like, oh God. You know? It's tough. It's really tough. It's one thing if you're making a video and you're editing it and you're getting it out exactly the way you want to say it, but when you're speaking live, I don't know. I don't know. During lockdown, almost none of your communication was verbal and you had to relearn how to listen to people. It really did a lot of us a disservice. It really did. It's amazing how quickly you can lose things too. I now know like 3 people that have done a vow of silence in different ways. Okay, which is a big number. I think I don't think most people even meet one person that does that. I now know 3 people in my life that have done some sort of vow of silence. One of them straight up like went into the mountains, lived in a cabin, middle of nowhere, and just like for a year didn't really contact anyone. Another one escaped to the desert and lived with Bedouin people and couldn't really speak their language, and he just like lived there. It was to escape something that I won't mention. he had to leave. This is a long time ago. And everyone who did this, everyone that I know who did this, and studies of people that have done these things find that like their listening comprehension, like it takes a hit. It takes a hit, but more so, less the listening, more so their ability to speak and be comprehended, right? To speak in a way that makes sense to people because they're just in their own brain. Their brain is just doing things at the pace that it does and in the way that it does. And being able to verbalize that is a different story. And that's just like, it's really interesting. Christopher, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. I appreciate that. And Tian as well. Thank you for the sub. Come on in. But yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's so interesting how quickly you can lose huge amounts of progress. Insane amounts of progress, right? Yeah, it deteriorates real fast. So, it's interesting, man. Were you streaming during lockdown? No, I was working. I think I started streaming partway through it. A lot of people were out of lockdown by then. I was streaming early 2021. I existed as a VTuber and I was in some collabs with people, etc. in 2020, but I wasn't running my own channel at that point. I was just like hanging out. Um, and I think some people were still in lockdown, some people weren't. So technically I did, yeah. But it depends on who, all right? Not in the big lockdowns. Yeah. I mean, as soon as we went on lockdown, my life didn't change too much because I could still do a lot of my work remotely. So I was doing all right. Um, but not too long into the lockdowns, you know, when things started lifting a little bit, I had to go back. A lot of my work involved going around to a lot of places, you know. So, yeah. Yeah. Anyone strangely nostalgic for the first lockdown back when we didn't realize how long it was going to be? No. No, not for me, not for me. Cuz I remember like I could do a lot of my stuff from home, except now I couldn't go food shopping normally. I couldn't go eat at a restaurant normally. I couldn't go outside and do all these things normally. It just felt inconvenient for me. Obviously, I fully respected it. And I was like, guys, stay home. Guys, wash your hands. Guys, you know. But but it was just so inconvenient because I was still working. I know a lot of people like, you know, became unemployed, which is awful. For me, I still spent my time doing a lot of work stuff. So it was just like a normal schedule, going out a little less, and I couldn't get a lot of the things that I normally could get. Right? That was my experience with it. Which is why I started streaming somewhat through it, because I was like, I need a hobby, and all of my hobbies I can't go out and do other than like hiking. That was it. But I was also starting to get a little, I didn't realize I was sick at that point, but I was starting to get like a little medically compromised, and I was like losing mobility without realizing. So I was like not really hiking as much because I was like, man, I'm just not feeling it. You know. You know. It's very interesting. Maybe that's why you didn't mind as much, because you were essential, so you had to keep your job. Yeah, it's very different. I mean, people's experience for lockdown was wildly different based off of their work situation. There were people that their experience was, you cannot go outside. Also, you make no money. Also, we don't know how long this is. Also, you don't know if you're ever getting your job back, right? It was just like a doomsday for a lot of people. Straight up. And then for other people, it was like, oh yeah, do all your stuff just from your computer instead of coming in. Put a mask on when you go to the grocery store. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was just, it was very different for very different people. Your cousin left it? He worked at a hotel, made double money from being laid off. Wow. Wow. Janitorial job, you got extra hours because everything needs to be wiped down all the time. True. True. Your dad nearly died from COVID. It was a scary time. I think it was very real to me because I knew one or two people that had passed from it that were quite young. Like I knew one guy who was like early 30s that passed from it. He just had a bad bout of it. And I was like, oh. Oh. So for me, it was a very like serious time for people to take things seriously, and I was just frustrated at some people not taking things seriously, you know, personally. Only thing that changed for you was you wore a mask. Yeah. And the thing is, I was kind of used to wearing a mask already. Like if I was sick, I'm from a city, you know, and people around each other all the time. A lot of us already were sort of in the mask habit a little bit. Not too many of us, but enough of us. So when you're sick, you put on a flu mask to get on the train. Like that's a little more normal before the pandemic. Not that everyone did it, but some did, and it wasn't the most unheard of. So for me, it wasn't really, you know, wasn't really that crazy for me to be like, yeah, I'll just throw one on. Oh, I'll just do it all the time. Okay, you know, like that was fine for me. Dealing with cancer during a pandemic was not fun. Makes a bad situation so much worse. You're telling me. Yeah, at least like lockdowns were like very done by the time I was dealing with mine, but the hospital system and the way hospitals operate now post COVID is very different than what I remember pre-COVID. Very different. Especially with like, they were always obviously sanitizing everything, all of that, but the way the waiting rooms are like set up, the way they keep people away from each other, very different. Very different. If anything, I'm thankful for it because you're less likely to get sick just walking in there now. Right? You were in Brazil during COVID? Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. I had to go and stay in the ICU for a few days during COVID, but I lucked out and was in between surges. Yeah, it's or surges. It's scary. I had one friend, she had a cold and she started to like develop pneumonia from it, and it was just a normal really bad cold. It wasn't COVID, but they were worried that it was that, and she had to go in immediately, like in case it was, they had to monitor her. And she went in during a surge, and she said it was like the most hellish, apocalyptic looking thing that she had personally seen, because she's just never been in a hospital when it's like that. And it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. Insane. Worked at an old folks home. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a friend who works in a place like that as a caretaker, just a care worker. And yeah, she said that was like a crazy time for them. Crazy time. Especially because so many of them were just like, is this going to get me? So many of them were asking her like, yo, is this going to take me out? And she was like, I hope not. We're going to clean everything a lot. It was rough. Really rough. You had a broken finger, the clinic told you how to set it over the phone because they refused to see you. No. Hey, understandable, but yikes. Yikes. So you're 15 turning 16 at the start of lockdown. It made it a lot harder for you to get your first few jobs, especially with that anxiety, with that getting worse because you couldn't leave your house often. Yeah, I think the people that were in school at that time probably got the roughest, right? The roughest experience with it. Outside of the people that obviously died, had health issues, etc. Just like the generation, the whole group that had the worst experience was young people trying to go through school at that time and getting like portions of their childhood stunted because of it. Because I feel like there's so much importance when you're little to keep consistent, to have consistent social interaction from when you're born all the way through adulthood. It's so important to just keep that going. And so many kids had a big gap in that. Oh, it was bad. It was bad for a lot of them. College and COVID was so bad, just so little actual learning. Even outside of COVID, I think it was still pretty it's still pretty bad with so little actual learning. But yeah, definitely a big difference. I think that's, let's not just, we should acknowledge it, yes, but let's not pretend that it's only, oh man, COVID changed it or something like that. When I was in college, there was a lot of, a big mix, certain courses, certain tracks, certain majors, people really learning, and then others, like people just paying for a piece of paper and doing fucking nothing, so I don't know. I think some people, that was their only college experience, was like post-pandemic or in the middle of it, so they're like, oh man, things changed. They did, but it was already bad. Yeah, now they have LLMs, dude. Yeah. It just gets worse and worse, man. What can you do? What can you do? Oh shit. Oh. Your college experience was halted by protests. You didn't do anything for a month, and soon after pandemic happened. Ugh. Man. Yeah, I know a few people that for 2 years they did no learning. But they were still quote unquote in college, paying for it and expecting to learn things that they didn't learn. Very interesting how that worked for them. Very interesting. You wouldn't mind doing trade, but you don't regret for a second studying math. I loved studying math, but a lot of jobs you can't get studying stuff like that. Like, what are you going to be, a professor? Maybe you could go into physics, Maybe you can go into certain types of engineering, but if you're straight up just like, I'm studying math, yeah, there's a lot you have to like transition into. Dual major or just minor in math or, you know, something. If you do stats, you can do some good stuff. Stats, yes. Even then, you usually have to cross it with tech in some way because you have to be able to model things and all of that. And it's, I think it's really useful, but you should transition into something. Dual major is the thing you should have done. It's great. It's great. It's having a math degree, if you're also going to go work in tech or engineering specifically, is so great. So great for helping you out. But if you just study math and you get a math degree specifically, and that's it, there's very little that's actually actionable in the workforce there. So it's tough. It's tough. Did math and programmer now? Right. Like going into something else with that knowledge is great. But yeah, it's all about the crossover. Your dad got into comp sci from math, but that's probably not a viable route since the 90s. No, it still is. It still is. As long as you understand logic, you're fine. You're fine. But unless you mean like you get a math degree and then go straight into a comp sci job, yeah, not viable because the number of people studying comp sci right now is so fucking high. Like, it's so high because people heard that studying comp sci gets you a good job that pays you a lot, and they saw like how much Amazon engineers make, and they went, wow, I could just do that. And then they all started going into comp sci, being told, oh yeah, look at these kinds of jobs you can get. Oh, you could be a dev and make 6 figures. But I know a lot of people that are getting like early jobs in this stuff, and they're definitely not making 6 figures, but they all were told that they would get out of college and be able to get 6 figures really quickly. Nuh-uh. Nuh-uh, it doesn't work like that anymore. Comp sci is not IT, not fully. Yeah, that's the other thing is I need more schools to start doing this, man. Like, computer science is computer science. There's also information science. There are straight up degrees in just information technology, right? And like, there are things that start to focus in a little more, almost like a trade school, kind of sort of, on more actionable knowledge. And it would be nice to see more of that, because I feel like comp sci is such a broad fucking thing to study. It doesn't help that much. Yeah, like engineering, right? I'm an engineering major. Yeah, what? Computer engineering. Okay, what do you do? Like they can't even answer half the time. I do stuff with computers. I don't know, man. Wish more schools had proper software engineering programs. Yeah, and even then, that could even be broken down even more. Had to suffer through weeks and bad grades of learning about semaphores only to never use it again. Don't get me started, man. This is why a lot of the classes I did were in math, and then I did go into other stuff too, but I focused on some other shit because all of the early level comp sci stuff, I just needed to study something that felt good on the side, you know? Like, I needed to, because just studying comp sci in school, I don't know, those courses were just like, I wanted to throw up. They just made me want to throw up. I felt like they were so useless. Right? I feel like when you hear about a field starting to pay really well, it doesn't stay that way for long. Yeah, but like, you know, for a long time, I've also said to people like, if you don't know what to do with yourself and you just, all you care about is, I want to be able to have enough money to live well enough, I would be like, yo, go be an electrician. Go talk to the local 3, you know, talk to your local unions and things and try to get a job that way. Go become a plumber straight up. And then they're like, oh, I'm so cool and above trade work or whatever, you know. HVAC, yes. Anything. I had a friend who was like, you know what? I met some guy, he said he's a steam fitter. He was like, this dude's a steam fitter. And he said he gets paid really well and he can train me. He just needs someone to train who has half a brain because he can't find anyone. And I was like, go do it now. Go do it now. Just do it. You know? And he was like, I think I am, because I don't really, he was like, I just don't do well in school. Like, I don't like the environment. And he was a relatively smart guy in his ability, his capability to just pick things up and learn things. His ability to absorb was great. He just hated school. So I was like, yeah, just do it. Like, see if you like it. And he just became a steam fitter, and he makes so much money. He makes so much money because he's one of the guys in his company that just has a little more of a brain. So because he's able to organize people a little bit more, he has a slightly better position, and he makes bank. Does the rote work and organizes a bit. Does like operations a little. And man, he's doing great. He's doing great. And I'm like, I look at him and then I look at other friends that like went into STEM but are in fields that just are a little bit flooded right now, and they're kind of struggling to find jobs. And I'm like, man, this guy's like, he really looked out. He picked the right thing. I don't know. I don't know. Electrician, AC tech, tow truck driver, never be without those. Ooh, tow truck driver. I feel like that's a high skill thing. Like, it takes a lot of time to really get good at that, but yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Underwater welder if you want that money, but also to live life on the edge. I feel like everyone says that. Everyone always says welding, especially underwater welding. Like, I see people parrot it, but I don't see anyone actually doing it. Everyone's like, oh, go learn welding. Like, where did you hear this from? And do you know anyone who's actually done it in any recent years? I don't know. I just feel like I read that all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. Had a cousin that did that. She made a shitload of money. Okay, an actual account. Yeah. Like, I've heard, like, some random stories, but I can't tell if it's, like, the same 3 stories shared on the internet or what. You know what I mean? It's hard to tell. Knew a guy that did welding in Alaska. Ooh. I actually had a friend who worked as a welder, or works as, no, he still does. And his thing was he was working on, like, an oil pipeline. And brother got to travel across such a long expanse of land, and he was just welding with like 2 other guys this whole oil pipeline.
You can get his mattress tester, but they'll be baffled if you show up to work late. Faction redeems chat.
Exactly. Phoenix, thank you for the bits. Thank you. Yup. You knew so many kids going into welding at your old job actually became concerned the market for welders may become oversaturated. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows, man? Your brother did. He makes bank. Yeah, I had a friend. I've mentioned this before, too. If you're, like, a little tech inclined, a little tech oriented, but you don't really want to, like, go study comp sci, one of the things you can study is looking at CNCs and learning how to maintain them, learning how to do programming related to them. And then you can go around. The job is going into either you're working at one plant or factory, or you get sent around to some different ones, going and like setting machines differently so that they can cut things and everything. That is one of the most useful. It's just general machining as well, kind of along with that. But if you can be like the technician for it, it's good for people who are tech inclined, but they don't want to just go into comp sci and they know it's kind of flooded. Or if you're in school right now, or you're out of school and you went into comp sci and you're feeling a little like you're dooming a little about what's out there, honestly, you can self-teach some amount of this and then take courses and things, all of that. You can go to a trade school after and work on it. But there's a lot of need for that, because being in machining, it used to be, let's just say, like, in layman's terms, a little less brainy of a field. Like, you still need people with a brain, because they need to really be able to figure out these shapes, do these things. But the tools have gotten more and more complex over time. They've gotten more tech inclined, more software based, right? So it used to be if you were good at physically figuring a thing out, you could do the job. But now there's this extra layer of tech on top of it, and they need people with that type of mindset, right? Who can just absorb that type of stuff and work in that type of stuff without, exploding. So, yeah, it seems like CAD meets machinist, kind of, yeah. Right. Yeah, you used to be able to like be like, oh yeah, I'll use a lathe. Not that simple, but you know what I mean. It was a lot more of a manual job. But yeah, it's one of those things that like there's a fierce need for, because what has not died ever? Manufacturing. Ever. So it's a good thing to go into. I had a friend who he studied comp sci, got out of school, hated the jobs that were available, felt like the market was like really just not for him, and he didn't want to live in certain cities, but that's where the jobs were, and he was like, I don't know. So he had a friend who was just like making things as side projects, and was looking at this machine that he's using. It was like a really simple CNC that the dude had like a cool setup for. And he was like, I want to learn how to like use this, but I want to learn how to do everything with this. And he just got interested, started looking into it. I don't remember if he took a course or found a company and like apprenticed with them. I don't remember what his next step was to learn it. It was one of those two. Yeah, and then next thing you know, that just became his obsession. It's all he does now. And he's got so much money that he makes off of it without having to like have a huge backlog of work experience or anything like that. It's pretty cool, man. Take Lord, thank you for the 34. Thank you for the 34. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know. There's still stuff out there. Every time a job or a market is dying, there's something else appearing somewhere. It's just a matter of if it's in a spot you want. But, you know, people be like, oh, all these machines are replacing jobs. These factories are getting more software based, and there are fewer people sitting there just picking stuff off of a conveyor belt and checking it. But now there are more jobs for the people maintaining and building and understanding this equipment, right? So there's always something that exists somewhere. It's just you have to really pay attention. You really do. Tried to get a job in your area doing basic CAD stuff, went around in person, different businesses, got told to your face there was no hope. Everything was in China. It was almost 15 years ago, though. Yeah, it's different. Like basic CAD stuff, yes. It's the more complex stuff, working on machinery and everything like that exists here. That's what's needed. Yeah. No one would ever want your mom's old job in a candle factory. Well, that's the other thing. Like I keep saying it, but I think it's really true. I think people in general think they're above every job, and they'll look at how life was in like the 50s, the 60s, and they'll be like, oh man, you know, people had it so good. They had this, that, and the other thing, all this money on just a simple factory worker's income. Why can't we have that? And I'm like, you know, I'm not blaming anyone for this. I'm not saying young people not wanting to do this is what causes this issue. I'm just saying keep in mind that their jobs, a lot of them were sitting there working in a turkey factory, a turkey processing plant, cutting off the legs and throwing them in a bin all day. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people had these types of jobs as well, and a lot of folks are not willing to do them. And then when I say to a friend, why don't you become a plumber? You'll be able to do this. They're like, ah, it's so physically hard. I want an office job. And I'm like, okay, so you want to sit in a chair and rot? That's fine. But like, so does everyone. And like, you know, there's a lot of other stuff to explore out here. That being said, I'm not saying, oh, if everyone was willing to do a factory job, life would be perfect, because obviously that's not the root issue. But, you know, they're not willing to do it unless it pays a lot. Plumbing is a different beast than rote unskilled factory work. Absolutely. But I'm saying it's the similar effect of like looked down upon because it's manual labor at all. And I'm like, well, okay. All right. Your hungry ass could never work in a turkey factory. Oh, it'd be so delicious. No, you get so tired of it. I knew someone who worked in a factory, an old neighbor of mine that worked in production of something a long time ago. It was related to sweets. And he would bring home these sweets all the time, and he would try to give them to us. And we would be like, brother, I cannot look at these. I cannot even look at these because you bring us so many. Like, we can't do it. He was so tired. If he smelled anything sweet, he wanted to throw up. He was like, he hated it so much. Poor guy. You get real sick and tired of it. 100%. Oh. Yeah, you said if we brought back factory jobs to the U.S. in the relative pay and all that to where they were, people wouldn't be happy with what things would cost. Oh yeah, for sure, right. That's what I'm saying. Like the issue isn't just people wanting to work those jobs; it's other stuff for the whole situation. But I feel like aside from that, there's also the issue of people feeling that they're like, you know, working with my hands is below me, or something. Which is kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. At least now you can listen to podcasts and VTubers while working. Yeah, right? Like now you can actually multitask because of devices and all that. I don't know. Or could you? You know what? They'd probably be like, oh, while you're working, none of them VTubers. None of them Twitchers. You can't do that. Right? Safety hazard. You're not locked in. You're not locked in. You can't do that. Yep. Yeah, you knew people worked at one of the bread factories, paid well, but they still wanted out because of the smell. Yeah, you get real sick and tired of things. You really do. No one wants to work anymore. I, a hot take, I think no one ever wanted to work. I I don't think that's changed. I think people have never wanted to work. I think manual labor, people have only done it because it, you know, they'll only do whatever pays enough and is within their ability. I don't think that's ever changed. I think what has changed is like people thinking that they're above or below certain things because they just got told that. That's all. I think media really like portrayed people, normal people, as office workers. And media does not portray a dad that works in construction anymore as like a normal job or anything. Or they'll portray that guy and then he'll come home and he'll be like, my job's so hard and I don't want to do this anymore. And then like the fun, happy part of the story is him not having that job anymore. And they're like, Dad, we let you retire. And he's like, yay, I don't have to work. You know what I mean? I think media really like adjusted that whole idea of like what's normal, right? A lot of that is outsourced too, so there are fewer people doing that in general. So you know, we have moved to a services economy. Exactly, exactly. We're not like the kings of the factories anymore. We're not. We're not. The factory worker in a show is always a drunk loser too. Yeah, right. Like you would notice this commonality. They would always portray someone like that. Look at The Simpsons. Look at The Simpsons. What does the dad do? How does he act? Right? And then there are like 1,000 copy pastas of him. I feel like that's kind of what I remember always seeing. And there weren't enough like people in these like shitty looking jobs. He was a nuclear engineer. Yeah, but okay. The thing is, the way they portrayed it was just him like turning some knobs and not really being very smart. You know what I mean? So, and the thing is, like, they would take this like cool job and they'd be like, oh, he's the flips some switches, presses some buttons joke, right? Yeah, he wasn't like the main engineer building stuff. He was just the guy like operating and just pressing some buttons, right? And then he would come home and he'd be like, "Yeah, I pressed buttons today." So he essentially still had this job that was very like simple, just doing a thing over and over in a factory, you know. It was still kind of that. Homer's not very smart. Yeah, I think we know. I know. Yeah, canonically he just walked in the day the plant opened and got a job. He was untrained, had no idea what he's doing. Yeah. Yep. Denori, leave this up. Thank you. Yeah, that shit was funny. It was funny as hell. But even then, like, they'll put people in these like in media. They'll put people in these like random ass jobs where they just like press buttons or they just sit at a factory and close the same box over and over, like fold a box for a product all day. And then they come home and they're like drunk all the time and slobbering and stuff. And I'm like, why can't we portray these people as like nice, normal people, like a good dad? You know? Yeah, he's simple. Yeah, his job is simple, but why do we have to also have him be drunk in every show? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just felt like they always gave them this really, like, not pretty portrayal, you know? Yeah, obviously only people with good jobs are good people. Right. It like gave that impression. I never liked that because a lot of people in my family that had like these really simple but awful jobs like that, they were really nice people. And they did mind-numbing work. So they were looking for something creative to do with their brains when they got home. They'd be physically tired, but they'd come home and like want to just do something. They'd want to talk about something, something interesting. They loved reading, you know? So I knew a lot of people growing up that really like they were wonderful and they had, yeah, boring jobs, right? And I was always like, I would get upset at the portrayals a little bit because I was like, I know people that do these jobs that don't act like this. You know? Counterpoint, Bob's Burgers. He's passionate about his job and is a good dad. Yes, but he literally owns a restaurant. Yes, it's a mom and pop shop, but he owns it, right? He's not working in a factory, like pressing chopped meat into a disc over and over. I do love Bob's Burgers, though. I gotta say, out of all of the, those types of shows, Bob's Burgers is my favorite. Bob's Burgers did a way better job of portraying a realistically healthy family than so much other media. Yeah, yeah, right? It's scary how, like, real it felt. Obviously, like, it's a cartoon, obviously, you know, whatever, but the way the characters interacted, they really did a good job with
Famous
that.
and prolific fantasy author
Oh
Brandon
my
Sanderson
god,
is
this is
often
so
asked
long.
what kind of job people who want to get into writing should get before they become successful,
Yeah.
and his go-to answer is bricklaying. He goes into it saying basically what you're saying right now, to a job that's physically demanding but leaves you with creative and intellectual energy that you can still spend when you get home. Also, you have time to think about your stories while you're at work.
That's true. That's true. But also Brandon Sanderson is Brandon Sanderson. I do like his little like writing symposiums that he does if you're learning to write. But I hate when he like writes women. So you ever read his writing? I do actually like his books, but then sometimes the way he writes certain characters, I'm like, what is happening here? Overall I like Brandon Sanderson though. Like if I take how I feel about him and put it like, are we positive or negative? I'd say we're positive, but man, the way he writes women sometimes, it's like a meme in the community at this point. Did we lose Smadge at some point? Thanks for putting it back in. Thought we had it. I thought we had it. Yeah, a lot of people saying they like Bob's Burgers. King of the Hill. Yeah, I always loved King of the Hill, though I would say the way... No, actually, they did have kind of a realistic portrayal of the way people act. That show was a little extra quirked up. But yeah, I think King of the Hill and Bob's Burgers were like the better ones. Yeah, and they're coming back. I haven't seen the reboot. Is it already out or is it not out yet? How's that going? Not yet. August. Okay, okay. All right, all right. Yeah, I always loved that show. That was like the dedicated if you fall asleep on the couch and then you wake back up at 3 a.m., King of the Hill would be on. King of the Hill would always be on. And that was the show, right? Like it was just there when nothing else was there. And I think that was my favorite thing about it was like that awful time slot that it had because I would work really late and I would want to just watch something for a short bit before sleeping. I'd like eat and want to watch something and thankfully King of the Hill was there for me if I was like coming home and it was like 3 a.m. I one of the jobs I did on the weekends, I would always come home at 3 or 4 straight up. And it was on. It was on TV, King of the Hill. You know, so I watched so much of it, man. Because also, like, I felt like at those hours, some of the shit that was on, like, Adult Swim was just weird. Like, it was just, like, not shit that I liked watching. Like, I appreciated it, but I didn't really want to watch it. So, you know, what ungodly hours did you work? Dude, I've said it before. I've been on a nonstop grind set since I was like 12, okay? And I paid for my own school. I was gifted a couple $1,000s when I started school to, here you go. Here's what we saved up for you your whole life, you know. Do everything else yourself. And I was like, all right. And I just had a billion hustles. I had a lot of different jobs. And I would go from one thing to the next thing. And I did really long hours. And I just tried to hustle as much as I could to make money. I can't tell you some of the things I did because it would like 100% dox me, like some jobs. Because I worked in a lot of like little local things, you know? But yeah, it was something that I managed to do and get through, and I did a lot of work while I was in school that helped me get more work later. I was able to kind of like balance the two, and yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to like not say anything specific because I'm trying to speak carefully about it. Avo, thank you for the raid. Thank you. But yeah, I like I would go to school and then also work, and then I would do like two things, two different work related things. So I would come home really late sometimes. That was just how it was, man. It was tough. It was tough. But I also had a lot of stuff that I did that wasn't always working, you know, and it was just like me trying to be a well-rounded person as much as possible. But needing things to do, if I would do one bit of work or school, and then I would have a block of time in between, and then I would start a job that was like a bit later. I would need something to do, so I had a lot of like programs and things that were free because I was broke that I did in between, and all that. She can't let us know she's a chimney sweep in 1849. Oh yeah, yep. That was one of them. That was one of them. I did a lot of stuff was like teaching, tutoring. So I did a fuck ton of tutoring. I did music teaching. I did dance teaching. Right, like those sorts of things were really easy to pick up private students or like stuff that's easy to schedule in between all your other shit. Um, especially the tutoring. That was very easy to put in between other stuff. So I did that. Um, yeah, it was just anything I could do. Anything I could do. Oh, I have an hour in between these two classes. Can I make money in this hour? Yes, I could tutor. Okay, I did it. You know, like I just always did that. What kind of music? Cello. Cello. I played the cello for a very long time. Um, through school and everything like that, and did pretty well with it. So I pretty much as soon as I was old enough to start doing that, I just was like, give me students. I would go to my own private teacher who had some students that were coming to her, but her time was filled and they were like a little bit younger. She'd be like, take these, you do it. And so, you know, so I was on that grind set. There was a sport that I did that I taught as well. Dance. Um, Dance was nice because it's another one that actually paid pretty well. It paid pretty well. So I liked that one. But it was a lot. It was a lot because like code switching your brain between different things throughout the day really drains you. So I don't know. I look back and like I remember those years of my life, but I feel like they went so fast. They went so fast because I did not have that much downtime. And then if I did have downtime, I was gaming. If I had a day or two in the week where I wasn't really working as much, I would do like some lessons, some tutoring, and then be home at like, I don't know, 7 or 8. Having been up since like 5, I would just play video games. Cause I couldn't get myself to go out and do more shit because I was out working all the time, you know? So I would just sit at home and play games. What else could you even do with yourself like when you're that tired, you know? Oof. Didn't burn the candle both ends, she nuked it. Yeah, I did a lot. I did a lot. And then I started working, and then I worked in a really fast-paced environment with a lot of different individual jobs that I was doing and just a lot of different things. And bounced around between a lot of different roles. And that was when I had a bit more time, at least. So I dropped a lot of the other stuff that I did, and I actually had like weekends sometimes, but then I have a problem where I always take on a lot. If there's time where I'm not doing something, I need to do something to feel like I'm filling that time. So that's why I play MMOs and shit like that, right? Like if I get my main work done, main work is done, now there's like this 5 hour period for the rest of the day. I'm like, oh god, I need to make something, I need to do something. So then I'll start like playing an MMO and like grinding, you know. So my brain is just like that, where I just have to do a thing. You never got burned out of working? No. No. Either I've never experienced burnout or I've been burnt out my whole life. I don't know the difference. I just always did shit. How did you play Eve? That was how. Any of my gaming time in between everything else was just grinding. That was all it was, man. Does your brain gamify tasks? I'm just a results-oriented person. I do not care about the journey at all. At least you had fun doing it. That doesn't matter to me. I need to see something happening to feel good about it. If I see a result, whether it's like the intended result or the best result or whatever, if I see a result, I see a progress bar move up in my brain, I'm like, that's my satisfaction. So yeah, it's not about the experience. It's about like this time went into something. And it doesn't have to be like IRL real. Like it, like again, playing an MMO feels good because you're like grinding out 100%ing a bunch of shit. You know? Yeah, Eve exactly is good for that, right? Like filling up all these bars. Yeah. Exactly. So my brain just does not feel satisfied unless I have that. You know? If you go on a road trip or vacation, what's the result that makes it worthwhile? Well, here's the thing. I don't go on vacations. I've basically never been on vacation. Anytime I went somewhere, it was related to work or it was part of like, I'm competing in something. So I'm in this town for this thing. And then I check out some stuff while I'm there, but I'm there for a reason. I've never in my life just taken a vacation somewhere just cause. There's always like a purpose, or I'm visiting this family member for this reason. They have this event going on, you know? So, yeah. I think the only other thing that I had done that was kind of like that, which I guess maybe I can't say I've never done that because I have gone to years ago a couple of conventions. But even there, I was like helping someone with something. You know, I wasn't just like going there just to drool and lay down, you know, like I was there to like do something. So I don't know, man. It's I don't know. I just need something. Always. Do you feel like you're missing out on random encounters in life? No. No. I have been so many places, done so many things that I think I've had enough of those. I've had enough of those because the way I was raised, I did everything my parents did. There were a few places that they would go a lot, very often. I'm trying to not say too much, but I was essentially raised by a village. I had the experience of going places very often outside of school that I would sit there and interact with a lot of adults, a lot of their friends, people they worked with, etc. And I was always exposed to all these different people and I didn't feel a need to be like, I need to go on vacation to see something interesting, because I'd sit there and I'd talk to some family friend, and this family friend would be like that one guy I told you about that like reads a book and rips the page out so the book gets lighter as he reads it, and he's fucking weird. You know? like I would meet these like weird characters all the time, so I don't know. I didn't really have like a desire to do anything else. Do you guys not remember that? Okay, so this one friend of mine, he's an old man and he has a really interesting life. He doesn't do this to just like every book. What he does is in New York City, he goes to like these used bookstores where they have like these dollar book racks of these books that are like falling apart. Sometimes they're literally 50 cents. And he'll pick one up. It's like the last person, whoever reads this next is going to be the last person to read it because it's going to fall apart. So he'll just buy these random ass books that aren't even that good, and he'll just read them on the train. And as he reads them, he just rips a page out, and he just throws it out because he's like, first of all, this book's dying anyway. Second of all, the book gets lighter as I read it, and he's like, he's weird. He's like carrying a lot of stuff on him. He's always trying to be as light as possible. I don't know. It's a thing. Yeah, he was in the Peace Corps. It was that one. Yeah. He lived in the Punjabi region of India for a long time because he was in the Peace Corps to avoid the Vietnam War draft. he didn't. He's an older dude. He didn't want to get drafted, so he joined the Peace Corps instead. He's a great friend. But that's like a weird character, right? The thing is, I have like a lot of those weird like cryptid friends from being around these people, you know, and I was very much raised by a lot of folks like that. So like I guess I never really had much of a desire to travel around or like meet new people because I had a lot of weird ones around me anyway. So I was good. I was all right, you know. I don't know. It's the craziest way to read a book. He's a weird guy. He's a weird guy. He used to he had this like one of the jobs that I did actually was he had a place in some place over the summer that he would go and clean. So he would go stay in one place over the summer in this like bungalow, and then there were like two others that his friends owned. He didn't own any of them. His friends owned some of these, and he would stay over them over the summer and then like clean them. And I would go with him at the beginning of the summer to do like the big clean, and then at the end of the summer again to do like the big clean, right? And I would get paid to do that. And it was cool because I got like a really nice little trip out of it to like a really cool town. But I was there to clean, you know? But I got paid. So when I say I did like every fucking job I could, I mean it. Like just odd jobs and shit. That's just how it was. Books aren't even like that heavy. I know. I would always look at him and I'd be like, this book is like a shitty little paperback. Like, you don't need to rip it out. And he'd be like, but look how thin this is when I'm done with it. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's weird. Have you ever seen anyone set up a gaming spot in any of the subway lines? No, no one does that. Why would you do that? You're on the go, man. Did so much volunteer work like that tell me I could have made money? Yes! Don't do anything for free, man. Do it for free if it's for a cause or purpose that you want to do it for free for. But like, most of the time, if someone else is making money off of it, don't do it for free. Fuck no. Fuck no. It's one thing, again, if like no one's making money here, everyone's just helping out just cause, up and down the chain. But if it's not that, don't do shit for free. You just get taken advantage of. You know? So I don't donate blood. If anybody's gonna make money on my blood, it's me. No, please. Donate plasma, please. They'll pay you, actually, for plasma. Your parents keep saying you should take free internships to gain experience to get hired. Okay, internships are a different story, yeah, because, like, I'm talking about, like, menial labor, okay? I'm talking about random-ass labor. Don't do it for free. An internship for, like, the field you're trying to go into, and it's usually, like, some sort of desk job or whatever, that's different. That's different. But I want to say it's not about gaining experience to get hired a lot of the time. That can help. It's more so, on top of that, it's about meeting people who work in that field. And if you come in and you're like some bright young kid who's doing pretty well, shows promise, they might be like, hey, we need someone to take over this thing. Let's just hire that kid in again and train them up. And maybe you get a job that way. It's more about the people you meet and being able to pick their brains, right? You meet these people, you work with them for a bit, and you get to casually ask them questions about things. Don't just go to that internship, do your work, and then leave. Talk to those people a lot and just learn about things. Be like, what kind of job did you work before this? How'd you get into this one? Right? Like, just listen to their stories, and that's the experience that you want. It's not just job experience on the job doing the real work. It's everything, right? So that's what that's really for. And hopefully they like you enough that they hire you, or they recommend you to a friend or something. They might know someone else at their old job that needs a whatever, you know? It's good, but you have to get a lot out of it. You have to try to get a lot out of it. So, because other than that, yeah, you're not making money, so you better make sure you go in and gain something, right? Internal versus external hire. Interns are considered internal. Yeah, yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. You started out part-time as an assistant, and they promoted you to QA because you kept finding flaws. Yeah, right, right. Go in and whole ass it. That's all. I don't know. I ended up not doing any like internships necessarily. I just had someone while I was in school straight up hire me to do some work because I was very involved in a lot of things. And a professor knew somebody who needed some very basic work done. And I was just one of the students that actually paid attention and tried to do extra fun projects just cause. I would ask my professor, like, yo, is this thing possible? Can you make this go like this? Can you do this thing? Blah, 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 right? And they just knew me. They knew my name because I spent time near them. And so they asked if I wanted to do this thing. They were like, hey, this person needs some of this stuff made. It's just a simple office job. They need some stuff taken care of. They need like some really, really, really simple shit. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Fuck it. Okay. I did that. Then they recommended me to someone else. Hey, this friend needs this too. Okay. So I did that. I then wrote it onto a resume like I was the next coming of Christ. Like I had just revolutionized their office. Okay. And I didn't lie in any of it. You have to be truthful in what your skill set is. But I wrote, I made it sound like I saved the universe. And I started applying to things while I was in school doing that. And I was like, I can do this. And I completely improved their workflow by blah, 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 blah. And I talked about like an audit that I did on their existing workflows. Audit on existing workflow? Are you kidding me? I was like, yo, you do this shit bad. Let me make you do this shit good. But you can call it that. There you go. You know what I mean? And I went in and I was like, yeah, I did that shit. And I wrote very simply what my skills were. And I was able to find more work that way. And I let that shit snowball. There you go. There you go. Yeah, corpo words. And you know how I knew how to write it well and all of that? Because I talked to a TA of mine.
Only recently started watching your content, but you have the energy of a cool teacher.
Ugh. Thank you for the bits. I talked to a TA who was someone who was working and going to school. They were in their graduate program. And I was like, yo, how do you describe this thing in a way that sounds good? Because when I'm writing it, it doesn't sound that great, but I feel like it does a lot for people, this type of work I'm doing. How do I make it sound like it does a lot to convince someone who doesn't understand this? And they were like, I got you. And they gave me some words to use, and not buzzwords, not even buzzwords, just like proper descriptors. And yeah, and they helped me out, and that's it. And it, a lot of the stuff that I got because I just asked a lot of questions and I tried. I could have just written whatever resume and submitted it and it would have been shit, but instead I went to somebody and I was like, can you look over this for me? I really want to know how to do this better. Right? You went to a resume counselor in college? Yeah, they have those now. That's like the kind of stuff that you gotta take advantage of. Absolutely. Hi, how are you? Speaking as a TA, talk to us. That's what they pay us for. Yeah, I was a TA. I was a TA for several classes. And so many people would not leverage my time. I would go out of my way to find people to get for shit and be like, hey, you need help with this. I know you do. I'm gonna help you right now. I don't know, man. Just utilize anyone you have access to, utilize their time if they're willing to give you that time. You keep having to learn different fields, corporate words. Is there a good repository for actual corporate vernacular, not just me and random Reddit posts? It's pretty much like when you learn about those things the first time through a course or something, through an environment, that you get to learn those things. I don't know. Are there? Does anyone know? Are there really good repositories for that? I feel like I just kind of like learn that stuff on jobs. I had to do the same thing where I had to touch different industries all the time, so I had to like learn new words constantly, or relearn some words because they get used differently. I don't know. That's a hard one. I'm not sure if there's a good spot for that. I don't know. You know what you should do? You reverse engineer it. Go look up people's resumes, or not people's resumes, rather job postings, job listings for the types of things you're trying to do, the types of industries you're trying to be in, and look at what the shit that they write in those resumes, and then look up what that means in that field, how it's used, etc. And that can help. So when it comes to resume building, yeah, just reverse engineer every time. Always do it in that order. Like, I'm a computer science graduate. I want to work one day at Amazon as an engineer. I don't know, or as a dev rather. Like, I don't know what I need to do, what I need to learn to get there. Okay, go look up the job listings for that exact thing. Look at the required skills, look at like preferred certifications, everything, and just start going down the list and figuring out how you can do that too. How you can have that, right? The jargon, yeah, the words that they use. That we're looking for this, we're looking for that, blah, blah, blah. And then you see some like acronyms you don't know, you look them up and you learn them. You just do it backwards, right? That's just how you have to do it. I don't think there's any other good repository, like you said, for that kind of shit. I wish. That's what I've already done for this version of the jargon, yeah. It's tough when you switch between workplaces and like you're doing a similar job but they're in a different industry, and then you have to like figure out how this all works. I did that a lot, and you just have to learn on the job. It's tiring. It is. Uzo, thank you for the raid. Welcome on in. Hope stream was good. Hope it was lovely. I want to get to pretty soon. I want to play a game because we have a collab in 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. So I'll make sure we do some solo game before that. But I wasn't sure what to play. We could continue Sunshine. Yeah, I could hop on Night Rain. I actually really like Night Rain. I like the game so much. I could hop on Night Rain straight up. I like it. What else? I want to start Sleeping Dogs, but I want to start it on a day when I don't have a collab later on into it. Like, I want to just have a lot of hours ready. I don't want to hop on Wilds today. What else? No, I don't know that we're gonna play Mafia 3, and I'm just gonna watch a recap of the story because I was looking at the like what people were saying about the gameplay loop, and I feel like it's just not worth for me. Not on stream at least. No, we didn't beat Oblivion. I stopped playing it because too many people were playing it at one time, and I feel like I was inundating everyone with more playthroughs of the same shit. You know. Yeah. We should finish Date Everything. Date Everything is another one I'm not going to finish on stream, I don't think, because we've gotten to the point where I just have to go talk to every character. It's just going to be a little bit of a slog. And I don't dislike that, but I'm just going to sit there and do it on my Steam Deck, I think. Methinks. Night Rain's so fun. You're 120 hours in. I really like it. It's just Elden Ring, but it's faster paced, better movement, more mobile, more of a sense of urgency in having to do things within a time limit. That like difficulty of having to do it within time limit makes it really fun. Really fun. So I love it. I actually love that game so much. So I need to play more of it. I might go through and try to 100% that. No one ever beats the Elder Scrolls main story. It's a shame. Yeah, it's good though. You miss Blueprints Madness. I need another game like that. I really do. I really do. Were you as excited about Lagi and Seregios being added as everyone else? They seem to be popular monsters. Yes, Seregios is actually one of my most favorite fights in some of the older games. I really like Seregios, so I'm happy. Yeah, I gotta open Wilds again. I haven't opened it in a while. It's been a bit, so. But I wasn't gonna like make my first time reopening it in a long time be on stream because it tends to run when I'm streaming. It runs like shit. When I'm not streaming, it actually runs totally fine. But trying to stream, trying to have my model running, trying to run that game, like everything at the same time, it's just so much for my computer. So, you know, maybe another day. Yeah, to answer your frequently asked question, yes, I will be collabing with the members because they're my friends and I collab with my friends. And as a member of the group, I never stopped collabing with my friends to begin with, so, you know. Why would I do it the other way, right? We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Was there Apex today? No, that's Thursday. That's Thursday. It should be, Nagi and Ama with me Thursday. The Thursday night, it might be a little late. I don't know if I'll stream my POV or I might like hop to the alt channel so I can lock in and like not think about there's a chat here. Like I'm just gonna lock the fuck in. But yeah, we'll be doing that Thursday. It should be 8 p.m. Let me check. Yeah. Yep. 8 p.m. Eastern. How does collabing with Japanese speakers work? Passion, yeah. Very, very passionately. Well, Nagi knows how to speak about video games in English, right? She knows like the words for ammo and my gun and like something. I know how to be like migi hidari, you know, and like sannin, 3 people. You know, I've watched RPR play Apex Legends too many times. so I that is all I need. I can count to 3. I know how to say people. Yeah, I can say shit on. I'm gonna teach Nagi a lot with that. Yeah, that's about it. How do they say rotate? Like we gotta rotate to this POI. That's the one thing I gotta figure it out. But we're gonna communicate with vibes. I'm gonna ping and be like, go here, rotate, big play. She'll be like, hell yeah. I don't know how to describe it. Nagi and I have like really good understanding of each other across our languages. Okay. Like her passion English and my passion Japanese. The vibes-based communication, yeah, it works really well for us. For some reason, like, I think we just think similarly on a lot of things. So I don't need to say shit. You could see it when we played, like, Lethal Company together and stuff. Like, we got our shit on lock. And we're gonna kill everyone. It's gonna be so good. I also haven't played Apex in forever, so there's that. There's that. It is what it is, man. Same brain for sure. Lethal Company collab was great. I kind of want to play like Repo with them again or something. I was thinking about Peak. But Peak is like, there's less happening in it, so it's a little harder because then you actually have to make conversation, which is, you know, we need something in front of us that we're commonly doing. Apex is great because we're commonly like looking around trying to shoot at shit. So we'll figure it out. Mine melded after showing off cats. Yeah, it was the first thing I did was I called them, the JP members, sat and called with them, and showed them my cats. That's what we did. Yep. So we could bond. Absolutely. Cracked, one shot on me, third party. Yeah, I gotta come in with Some passion English. We'll figure it out, man. Valo? I am not playing Valorant. No, 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 no. I cannot. I cannot. I hate Valorant, man. I hate any tac shooter. That's all. That's all. It's not for me. But when it has movement, suddenly I'm down. Suddenly I'm way more down. I don't know. It's just so unfun for me to like corner peek the whole time, and whether or not you win is so dependent on if you click their head first. I mean, I don't mind that if that's like at speed and we're doing like crazy wall bounces and shit. But when I'm just like peeking a corner and clicking faster, there will always be someone who's playing the game who's 19 years old and their reaction speed is just faster. And I will lose every time. That's all. Yeah, Splitgate is more fun for me. Yeah, 100%. Them kids. It's true. Like, playing FPS as a young person is very different. Very different. I could never do today what I used to do back in the day. Never ever. Never ever. But anyway. Oh, you know what else you guys were talking about? Updates like Monster Hunter and stuff. Haste got an update. Haste got an update where you can play multiplayer. I don't know what that's like at all. I don't know what that's like. But they have a multiplayer update. So at some point I want to check that out. Garrick was asking if I'd seen that, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what that means for that type of game, but like that sounds fun as fuck. So I'm just trying to imagine like how the boss battles would go. I don't know. We'll probably try it at some point. Why did you choose to be independent? Because I didn't want to work with the company anymore. That's all. I didn't want to work with that company. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. There's a whole video on it. If you want any detail, or as best as I can say. As best as I can say. I can only give you... I can't give you much detail on anything related to that, and I can't talk about even vaguely some things related to that. And I'm only able to say, like, you know, good shit. So, is what it is. So anything that I can say will just be in those videos, and that's it. Okay, so Haste has an update. We'll check that out at some point. I'm kind of feeling Night Rain. Is that the vibe? Is that the vibe? Because I just played it for the first time the other day. I feel like I'm a little late on it, but like, man, it's good. It's good. I just want to do a few sessions because then we have a collab later, you know? So I don't want to start, that's why I don't want to do Sleeping Dogs today. Because I don't want to play for like 2 hours and then be like, okay, bye, you know? See ya. But we do have that for maybe another day this week, probably like Wednesday or something. Yeah, I could make such chat could join in. I agree. Hey, this is one of those games that luckily, thankfully, does not have fucking voice chat. I think one of the best things they did was not adding voice chat at all. Like, it's just not even available in the game. Thank God. Thank God. I need more games to start doing that. Please. Ugh, okay, I have my controller. No VC, man. A lot of games don't need it. They just don't need it. Night Rain is not the kind of game where you need that. You just ping. And that's it. That's it. Ping is the greatest thing Apex gave us. I love their like nuanced pings too. Yeah. It's true, man. It's true. Okay, let's swap over to here.